Well, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, everyone. I'm Gene Girdley along with Ted Ings, and we are so thrilled to have at Jumangi, Aaron Sheeks and Lisa Copeland.
We're so honored today to be joined by Aaron Sheeks, who's the president at the Autominer, which does fixed ops data mining, marketing, and advertising for this segment on the impact of follow-up in your fixed ops department. And we are honored as well to be joined by Lisa Copeland of Lisa Copeland Global Enterprises. Lisa Copeland, also a former retail dealer, extremely well known in the automotive industry, recipient also of the Walter P. Chrysler Award for Sales and Service Excellence. Aaron and Lisa, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, we've been looking forward, Aaron and Lisa, to this segment for some time because you've got some unique technology that you're now deploying on the fixed ops side of the business that we haven't had before. And our audience is always here to learn about the latest technology. So with that, Aaron and Lisa, take it away. The show is yours.
Well, I think I'm going to kind of come out with, Aaron, it has been so fun to watch you. How long have you and I known each other now? 10 years?
We're coming up on 10 years, I think.
Coming up on 10 years. I still remember the night we met and you had just gotten out of the military. And I thought you were really one of the sharpest, hardworking, really wanted to absorb the business. And so just to watch your journey over the last 10 years has been phenomenal.
Thank you. You're always entirely too kind. And look, it's been a pleasure. I've gotten the chance to learn from you and learn from some of the best. And it's just great to be included with smart folks. So thanks for joining me today. Well,
thank you for inviting me because, you are speaking about something that's really near and dear to my heart. And that is what I would like to call the art of follow-up, especially in how important it is in the fixed ops department. Because, you hear about it in sales and, did you follow up with your lead? Did you do this? Did you do that? And, owning a retail car dealership. But where is the follow-up? Where is the art of the follow-up in the sales and service department? How many people do you think, sales and service, it's going to be service and parts department, how many people do you think get away because nobody ever followed up with them?
Look, I think near and dear to your heart and mine, as salespeople, I think it's bred into us. We understand the importance of follow-up. It's a huge piece of our business, driving forward, reaching back out to folks and bringing them back to us. And I think a lot of that is lost sometimes on the service department, not necessarily because they don't want to follow up or because we don't want to communicate with folks, but resources are thin and human beings to do that follow-up is sometimes limited. So we have to have a structured plan in place, whether that's an organizational or a BDC or a team put in place to do so, or if it's a technology that we're hoping to fill that void. I think for the sake of today's conversation, and it's always good to go back and forth with you, is I think there's really three really main reasons or key ways to be effective with follow-up in the service department.
And I agree. So I want to break it down for everybody because the goal of this segment, of course, is that our audience could walk away with 3 takeaways that they could take back to their service department for success. So what is number 1 to you? What is the first thing that a service and parts department, fixed ops needs to do to successfully start building a follow-up funnel? Or just even a procedure, what is it they need to do?
Sure. I think the first and foremost, you have to have a plan. So before you put anything into place, what is your plan and what are your resources and how can we get there effectively? I think the service side of the back, the fixed end side of the house sees more customers, touches more folks, allows us to share our culture and our community of our dealership brand with those folks. And there's really 3, I think, key ways of structuring it. The first, it seems fairly obvious, but not a lot of folks are set up this way, is to have a full-blown service BDC.
Right.
A lot of our friends, my good buddy Chris Martinez and several others have high performing, really large, high volume service BDCs that just crush it. I think that's a really effective way. I also know that having a service BDC allows us, to hold some salesperson metrics in that fixed op side, whether those are daily activities, outbound phone calls, emails, text messages.
Up the service writers, because I think that so many times that they get busy being busy, and I get it. I had a very high volume sales department. For as small as my sales department was, my service department, we serviced all of Central Texas, from San Antonio to Waco and everywhere in between. So, it was very high volume. And I would find that my service writers would get so busy being busy sometimes that a lot of things fell through the cracks. So I know that you probably have a solution for that.
No, I think that's the first goal is understanding that you have those cracks and how do we start to fill them. So does our service BDC, do we man that, to a point that I can scale with those increased ROs, despite how big or small my sales team maybe is? Maybe it needs to be bigger on that end. I think the second is, to your point, service advisors tend to get buried or busy or the phone's always ringing, right? So
Always.
do we find a hybrid model between a full-blown service BDC, and I'm going to include outsourced BDCs in this service BDC list here, is even if they're on-site or they're off-prem and an off-site BDC, I think it could still fill that gap. Do you have a hybrid model somewhere in the middle there where, Aaron, maybe I got one person, I've got a really smart tech advisor, I've got a service advisor of the year is what I like to call them, that they talk to the customers, they greet the customers, they do walk-arounds, they do all the important things on the service side, and then still somehow manage to leverage some software or some technology to be really effective. And then I think the third reason, and of course we'll circle back here, and part of where my kind of expertise lies is how do we put a software or a tool in place that is quick, easy to use at the dealership level, or turnkey, because we know those folks are busy and they don't have the opportunity to do it. How do we allow software technology to come in place to fill those cracks for us to do a lot of this outbound communication? And I think the secret is finding a way to fill those effectively in our business and what fits the right mold for us, but to also make it as automated or as less, the least amount of touch as possible.
Yeah, and I agree. And what I found, and help me with this, is that we would employ some of the greatest technology, but if nobody uses it, right? You can have it, you can subscribe to it, you can pay for it, you bring in the teams to set it up, and then you look up as a general manager or as a dealer principal, and you're like, wait a minute, nobody's using it, because people tend to be afraid of technology. So what would you say to that service department out there, where the service manager's been there for 20 years, the service writers have been there for 10 years each, and they're like, we don't need this stuff, we're good?
Yeah. So your number one question I get every single day in my line of work is Aaron, I love it. I love you. I think if I put it in place, maybe it works, and then I'm going to cancel it in 90 days because my people maybe aren't going to log into it or aren't going to adopt it or aren't going to continue my vision.
It's all about adoption with anything, right? Which is what Bill Gates talked about. You can build the greatest product in the world, but if nobody adopts it, what do we do?
No, 100% right. I think the one thing that always comes back to me, and I'll steal this line, is that this device right here, the greatest device maybe ever created, allowed Apple to roll it out to how many millions of people without a training manual, without anywhere to teach these people how to use it, right? So our job as innovators and as tech disruptors really is to create something and put something in place at a dealership that not only requires little or zero training, but is also allowed to be as impactful or as effective in our stores and in our business as possible. So my goal is to say, maybe the answer is a full-time BDC, and maybe that BDC needs to leverage really smart, either data mining or advertising or text messaging or social or whatever tool you want to bolt on there. Maybe it is getting that one or two rock stars inside the building to own it. Or maybe you have someone that says, I don't have time to own it, but I can give some direction to somebody else. Or maybe it's Aaron, I'm a small guy in the middle of nowhere like me, and I live outside the city. I've got 2 reps, I've got service fighters buried, but I know that I've got to get retention up, and I know I have to get in front of my customers, and I have to follow up with these folks to be really effective in bringing them back in. How can I have effective follow-up if I don't have the people, and I know that my people won't adopt it? So no matter what the tool is, whether it's being managed in-house or it's being managed out of house, I think that in today's day and age, you have to have a level of automation.
You do. And do you have the ability to be able to help a dealer manage out of house? Like, so is there, do you have the ability to be able to manage remotely their service BDCs or manage remotely their follow-up systems?
I think there's a lot of great tools out there. Of course, I have one, and I would love to talk to anyone who'd like to talk about mine. But I think the most
isn't that why we're on here today?
No, not today. I'm going to do a little more teaching today than normal. But of course, I think my tool is as good as any out there that allows us to schedule and automate either pre-survey, post-survey, appointments that are scheduled for tomorrow. Maybe they purchased 2 weeks from us or 30 days from us, and I want to make sure that I get a follow-up message in front of them before their first scheduled service appointment. And I want it to be, hey, this is Lisa Copeland. I'm so thankful that you purchased from me, and I'm really excited to give you your first service here at the store. Please visit us here. How do we get that message out? Whether it's the least.
Okay, so here's my question, because 75% of the dealers in the country sell under 100 cars a month. Okay. So the majority of the dealers are not the big players that we see out there, and the Brian Benstocks and some of the, big monster players.
Sure.
So when you think about a service BDC, that is, and I do think you have to separate your service and your sales BDC, because it really is two different talk tracks. So from an expense standpoint, help the 75% of the dealers out there that are selling less than 100 cars a month. Are they better to adopt a technology, machine learning, whatever you want to call it? I'm not as smart as you are, but I understand the bottom line. Or put in that BDC, because that's expensive. Hiring people is expensive. And so it sounds to me like that can be outsourced through machine learning, through technology, through artificial intelligence, whatever. God, I really sounded smart saying that, didn't I? But it does seem like it would be less expensive than hiring bodies. Am I right or wrong?
I think you're absolutely right. If you get the buy-in, or you have a plan that can still execute, based on your overall strategy. I think putting any tool or anything in place that isn't going to have the adoption rate or the user interface or the vendor managing at the level of expectation that was promised, there's a lot of ways that we could still fail in this. I think if you're a business owner, if you're a dealer principal, fixed ops director, you have to make the decision of, can I put this tool in place? Can it achieve my basic needs for follow-up and communicating with my customer database effectively? Can I do it either with little to no interaction from my team? And I say that with a caveat, in that you will never be successful with any software or any product or any plan if you don't talk to the person providing it to you.
Well, that, and the fact that you own the success, right? I mean, people over the years, I've seen them put in stuff and they're like, yeah, let's do it. And they think if you build it, people will come. Well, somebody has to own it, right? Somebody's got to own the project. Somebody's got to own the responsibility of it being successful. Somebody's got to manage it. And I think that's where so many vendors get lost in the fray, because they have really great products, but nobody at the dealership level wants to own it.
I think you're right. I think if we look at those three different types of BDC models of how do we own the communication plan of following up with our customers, the folks that have someone in the store that own it win every single time. Every single time is just a fact.
Yeah.
The problem, I think, and I'm speaking a little freely here, you asked me, was for the folks that don't have someone who can own it, for someone who doesn't have a 2-person, 5-person, 10-person service BDC, who isn't outsourcing it to a professional BDC. If I'm selling 40, 50 cars a month and another 40, 50 used, and business is good, but I know that retention could be better, or I know that I could do more in CPRO money, you have to put in a plan that allows you as either an owner, leader, or management team to spend 30 minutes a week with whatever tool, vendor, person that is going to own that process for you, and say, here's what I see, here's what I feel, and here's what I expect. And anybody on the other end of that phone, whether it's a vendor or a BDC manager or whoever it should be, is, okay, here's my expectation, here's the plan that I have to do to put it in place. And then now, do I have a tool to help me make that easier? Maybe that's through my CRM or through an equity mining tool or whatever that may be. It can't be a Google sheet. It can't be an OEM manufactured list. It can't be here's a giant bucket, go work this. There needs to be some sort of level of strategy involved in it, so that way you have a real plan of data, advertising, follow-up, pre and post-service appointment, and then that continues to feed your machine. So that way new ROs are feeding old ROs and vice versa as they continue to come back into our service marketing funnel.
Yeah, because I'm going to make a prediction. And I don't know that it's going to be a popular prediction, but I'm going to make it, is that 2021 is going to be a little bit tougher. Imagine that because of the squeezed inventories and the pressures on inventory, potentially seeing some higher interest rates, some movement there. And so all of that being said, I think that there's going to be some challenges coming into 2021 for automotive dealers. And I think service is, that fixed ops, that fixed absorption, the magic word, fixed absorption, right? And so he or she that can win the game on getting as close to 100% fixed absorption as they can get, then, the sales will be just as they fall, right? So if you're with a brand that's got, that is 50% behind on production for Q1 and Q2, you're not going to just lose the house, right? And so putting that hyper focus on your service department, on your fixed operations, and getting into the game, retaining those important clients, and more importantly, grabbing them from your competitors, right?
I think that's the one thing that I'm a big focus. I think you're right. I think 2021 Could be challenging. Maybe not. We'll see how things shape up between now and then.
I mean, I'm hoping not. I'm not.
I know, right?
I'm hoping
My goal for dealers as we wrap up here is understand that to do good business, you have to work on good business. And then if we're not going to bring them in on a sales incentive, we're not going to, we can't bring them on the cheapest sales incentive and then expect them to stay and do service with us over and over and over if we're not talking to them and if we're not communicating with them. So follow up early, follow up often, before appointments, after appointments. Find one of those methods that you can plug into your place to fill those cracks in your business. And I think you'll find 2021 increased ROs, increased CPROs, and hopefully we keep the house afloat while we figure out what's going on with the front end.
Yeah, the fortune's in the follow-up, my friend.
That's right. That's right.
Amen. Amen. Hey, great information, Aaron. Thank you so much. Lisa, what a wonderful interviewer you are. Wow. And, coming from the retail automotive industry, Lisa understands this so well, and fixed ops right now is, been keeping things going. And I agree with what you said, that it may be a tad tougher, but with Aaron and the Autominer and the tools that his company offers, that can really help dealers not just survive but thrive, in these times. So in this season, Aaron Sheeks from the Autominer and Lisa Copeland, thank you so much. How do we go ahead and reach both of you? Oh, Gina, see, you got some contact information on the screen. Contact Aaron at theautominer.io and Lisa Copeland on Instagram. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
At real Lisa Copeland. So thank you so much. Great job, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the show.
Well, Ted, I'm hearing the sound of drums, and that just means one thing. It's time to get Aaron and Lisa back to reality. All they have to say is Jumangi.